Hi everybody, today we're going to do a video about some ideas for bar 5 and 6 of the blues. So let's do A today. Bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4, bar 5, bar 6. And right there, bar 6, I'm going to turn that into a diminished half step up from the 4. So like bar 5, bar 6. So bar 7, we're going back to the 1. So what we're really going to explore today is going from diminished stuff in bar 6 and landing on a note from the A major after that. And you can play A major or A7 in bar 7. That's up to you. I like to land back on A major and play through a 1-6-2-5 on bars 7, 8, 9, 10. Some people will go back to the 1 and play dominant 7 stuff. It really depends on which blues tune you're playing and who you're playing with. So let's run through the scale outline up to that point so that we have good context and we can hear where we're at. Scale outlines come from Barry Harris, and it's a way to simply show what scales go over bars or chords or parts of a bar in a tune. So for the blues, the scale, I'll give you the scale outline up through bar 7 or so. So bar 1 is A7 up, bar 2 is D7 up, 3 and 4 is A7 up and back down. Bar 5 and 6 would usually be D7 up and back down. But what we're doing today, it's more like D7 up and then back down to E flat. And in bar 7, I'm going to go with A major up and back down to the 3rd of G flat because I like those turnarounds. So what that gives us is this. So that's our scale outline up through bar 7 and 8. So in our scale outline, we're not revealing that E flat till the end of bar 6, but what I want to do is put a little bit of diminished stuff right at the beginning of bar 6. So we'll for bar 5, we'll play the scale outline through this whole lesson. And then for bar 6, let's start by going up a diminished chord. And when I say diminished in this whole video, I'm talking about diminished arpeggios or the notes of diminished chords. I'm not talking about the 8-note diminished scale. So we're going to go D7 up for bar 5, and then for bar 6, let's come up a diminished chord from E flat to C. And then the most basic way to look at this is we're going to come up a diminished chord and then come down the notes of D7 and land on the 5th of A. That's one way to do this. So this is probably the easiest way to look at what we're doing here. In bar 5 we're D7, and then bar 6 we slip into diminished notes for just a moment and then back into D7. And finally, the last note, it's shared note between D7. It's the 2 of D7, but it's the 5 of A. So bar 5, 6, 7. Now, I don't want to just come down D7 like that after the diminished thing. I want to do a little more than that. So what we'll do is we'll come up the chord, and then when we get to the C, it's a shared note. It's the flat 7 of D7. It's also one of the diminished notes. So instead of coming down the whole scale, I want to come down like this. So we got, and then I want to go back up and insert a chromatic note and then land on the 3rd of A. And that gives us. And now we're on the downbeat of bar 7, and what we want to do is play our major turnaround stuff here, or if you're going back to A7 there, then you play your dominant 7 stuff, but something like So I went into turnarounds, which is more like the jazz approach, which is, I like to do that anytime I can. But in a standard blues approach, you come back to a dominant 7 there, you could do something like that kind of thing. Let's come up with another one that doesn't just go up the chord. Instead, let's do a pivot here. The pivot's the same as going up a chord, but the first note is an octave displaced, or you could say the other 3 notes are octave displaced. So we're going to come up from a C, so it would be C, E flat, G flat, A. So we're going to play the C up top and then get our E, G flat, A lower. Okay, so bar 5 we come up D7. In bar 6 we're going to pivot, then come up 5 notes of the diminished chord. So that's what we're doing. Let's start our move on the end of the 4 in bar 5 from a half step below. So we'll go B to C. And what we're going to do here is, I study at Open Studio. We call it a napback. Some people call it a drop back. It's where you go, you're on a note, you go a half step below and come back. So we're going to do, the half step below is going to land on the end of the 4 bar 5. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then the new move. So we got, and that's how I want to end this. It's like a classic Enclosure. So we're coming from the diminished. Then we're playing the 3rd of D7, chromatic down to the 5th of A. So here's how that sounds all together. And then from this point, you're on bar 7. The moment you hit this E, you're on bar 7, and you can play your turnaround stuff or go dominant 7, however your blues is going to go from there. That kind of thing. Let me try to do that slow for you real quick so you can have one big nice line. So the idea is simple. You stick a few notes of E flat diminished into your D7 in bar 6. That's what we're really doing. And what you have to do to really make this work is land on a note of A major or A7, wherever you're going in bar 7. I aimed for the 3rd in the first example. And in the second example, the 5th. So really strong chord tones. And I'm not saying you should always be aiming for the exact chord tones, but when you land out of this in bar 6, it helps to go like, hey, we're back on the 1. Like I like to play something where the listener knows where I'm at. So let's talk for a minute about sharp 4 diminished in the context of the blues. I asked around, I asked Chris Parks what he thought. I talked to a few people, and I wanted to be able to explain the origin of why this works. And I think what I came up with was, it's like playing 1 diminished back to 1. It's this kind of, it's like, and the thing about 1 diminished is it's also the flat 3 diminished. So in a way, it's like we're going bar 5, then 1 diminished, back to 1. Bar 5, D7, then flat 3 diminished, back to 1. So I decided for this scale outline to call call this E flat the flat 3 of the flat 3 diminished. The flat 3 of the flat 3 diminished. So I'm saying for bar 5 and 6, we're playing D7 up and back down to the flat 3 of the flat 3 diminished. That's my explanation for it. You could call it the sharp 4. Sharp 4 diminished is a really common way to call this. It makes sense because of the movement. But I think the origin is really flat 3 diminished. Like that's if I had to say like this is where it's from, I'd say flat 3 diminished. It's the same 4 notes in all these diminished chords, and they're all in versions of each other, so it doesn't matter what we call it. And on stage, I'm playing D. I'll just look at somebody and go sharp 4 and expect them to know, or I'll go up a half step, which both point at calling it sharp 4. I think if you want to explain this to somebody on stage or like call it out quickly while you're in a tune, then you got to call it sharp 4 because you're already on the 4 and everybody's going to understand how to move the root up 1. But if I had to pin down an origin, like why, then I'm saying this is from the flat 3 diminished. And I think that the diminished 1 might also be. I have some more people I can ask their opinion on this, so if I come up with a more definitive way to explain it, I'll let you know. So those are a couple of lines that are really designed to give you some ideas and demonstrate how to put some diminished stuff into bar 6. I mean, the idea is bar 5, you're in D7, then you weave into the E flat diminished chord notes for a second, and then you get back into D7, or if it's already time to get to bar 7, then you want to land on some A major stuff for the turnarounds, or A7, depending on what kind of blues you're playing. To practice this, I would work on playing diminished in bar 6, but it's almost more important to work on landing bar 7. I like to land on the 3 or the 5 or the 6, because that doesn't immediately define whether we're going to A7 or whether we're going to A major and hitting the turnarounds. So it opens up your options to the last possible moment. Give a like and leave a comment. Tell us what you like to do in bar 6, because there's a lot of stuff. You can go minor 4, you can go tritone sub of a secondary dominant. You can go whole tone. There's a lot of ways to get back to that 1 in bar 7. So give us some thoughts on that. Anyway, I'm Birdsnake. Thanks for watching.